welcome to ASFishingTV. We're back in the tackle room today and we're looking at different pole connectors essentially and bushes. So obviously internal bushes, external bushes and the different connectors that we seem to see out and about when you're fishing. So we'll go through a few of the three main options really today. So the first one really is the most popular really at the moment is the Dacron connector. So obviously I'm going to show you how it is I make mine my own. So here I've got some coated line, and all I do is I just make a loop, and I'll loop in that line as you can see there. Okay, and then I'm just going to do a figure of 8 knot. So I'll create a second loop. Okay, and then I twist that loop over. Do it nice and big so you can see it. Twist that loop over, and then I put it through. So when you tie them, when you actually pull the knot, there we go, it ends up as a figure of 8 kind of loop. Now with every knot you must remember, really important, that you just wet it first before you pull it tight. Okay, and then using something like, I've got a loop tie here, I'll just give that a good pull, make sure we get that nice and tight. So you end up with a nice, let that focus, there we go, just a nice simple loop. Now when I make my own Dacrons, I make them quite a bit smaller than this, but for the sake of you guys, I'm just going to leave it as it is. So the important thing is now I can chop the tag line out, the tag end off, not too close to the knot, but you know, just a couple of mil. That goes in my bin. And then for this section here, I'll give myself plenty to play with. Okay, there we go. So we've got the loop at that end, just like that, and a nice length of line. Okay, so what I want to do now, let's have a look here. So we'll put this on. Okay, so I've got here it's a demonstration top section like this. Okay, so this has got an internal bush fitted. I'm going to show you that. Let's get it in focus. So it's one that goes on the internal side, and it's all nice and neat. Just look how that's nice and neat and tidy. Okay, so all I'm going to do is I'm going to thread my elastic, okay, through the loop. So my Dacron is now, what becomes my Dacron is now on my elastic, and all I'm going to do there is the same kind of knot again, so that it ties it onto the loop. And even with elastic, just make sure you give it a good tighten and you can pull it tight like so. So what I'm left with there now, look, is the loop with the elastic tied on. And what I do then is I cut the tag end of the elastic off. Okay, as we can see now, it just sits on there like that. So what we need to do now is add on our bead. Okay, that comes in, get it in all sorts of kits. Just thread it through. Now you can use, you know, lots of different tools to do this. I'm just going to thread it onto that line. So I've got it onto the extra bit that I had on before. And I'm just going to give the knot a little wet, just so it's a bit easier to slide the bead over. So all I'm going to do then, I'm just going to pull, let's do it so you can see, I'm going to pull it through, like so. Okay, and then what it's going to do is it's going to sit over the top of the knot of the elastic, okay, like that, and that sits perfectly against the end of the pole. Some people like to have it in the other way around, so that the pointed end sticks in, but that's entirely, you know, personal preference. And then I cut that tag end off then. Okay, because then what we're left with, okay, is perfectly fitted Dacron. You can see that it's sticking out at the end there. Okay, nice and simple, nice and straightforward, just like that. And obviously you can then set your elastic, especially if you've got the puller kits at the end, you set it for how pingy you want it to be. So I'll just give you a really good close up on that one. Okay, there's a Dacron sticking out at the end there, obviously where you attach your rig. Alright, so that's the Dacron connector. And another one that you tend to see a lot. Okay, so this is, again, for demonstration purposes, this is going to be the Stofo connector. So I'll just show you Stofo connector. Alright, and you tend to see this. It's really good if you are, it comes in sort of 2 parts, alright? So you've got one part there that is where you actually attach the rig to, and then you've got the other part which is like an extra sleeve. So it's the sleeve bit you want first. And for the demonstration here, I'm looking at this is an external bush in this one, so you can see, not like the internal one with the Dacron, okay, where it's all fitted inside here and it's nice and neat. This one is on the outside, so you can see it sitting on the outside. It's a bit noisy here at the moment. Okay, so I'm just going to hold on to this here. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to thread the collar, the thin end first, onto the elastic. Let's get that through. Okay, like so. Just like that. Okay, now I'm going to get the other piece, and you can see there's a nice little loop, sorry, little hole there. So you just thread the elastic through the hole. Okay, and then and tie a nice simple overhand loop so that it's like so. And all I do, I'm just going to wet it again, and I'm going to pull it down tight so that it sits perfectly on that Stofo connector. Okay, just like that. So then we need to trim the tag end off. There we go. So you've got a little bit sticking out there, and all I do is the sleeve that you put on first just pops up onto cover up the knot, just like so. Okay, and then it sits in the end of the connector like that. So obviously with this, it just means that the collar that's on it, I'll slide that down. So you put the collar down, you can see, let's have a look, turn it the right way around for you. There you go. So you can see there's a nice little loop just there. You put a loop of your line through there, and then you can put, oops, you put your loop of line through, and then you can slide the collar up until it locks it in position. Okay, like so. And you can see that one sits just like so, and it comes out and does the job you need it to do. Okay, for me personally, I mean, it's a good quick way. It's great for beginners as well, but it's just not as neat and tidy as the internal bush for me. And you know, with the Dacron, you can see, I can get both of these on the close-up for you. There you go. So you can see the difference with this one here. There's lots of room here for your rig to get tangled around the end of your Stofo connector, but with a Dacron, you've not got that. You know, it's much more neat and flush, and there's less things for, you know, to go wrong really. And it gives you a little bit of stiffness as well, so when you strike in, you're not missing out at any time with the bite. Okay, so that's those two. And then the last one, which is actually the one I generally prefer, is just a bead. So you attach the rig directly to your elastic, and you cover over the knot, if you like, with a adrenaline feeder bead. So I tie, again, a simple overhand loop in the end of my elastic. So I always wet it, and sometimes the knot might be a little bit small. You might have to do 2, depending on the size of elastic that you're using, really. Okay, so you can see there now, I've got a nice knot in the end of my elastic there, and I've got another bit sticking out. Okay, now I'll leave about 1 centimetre sticking out. Just cut that off. Okay, about 1 centimetre like that. So when I put my rig on, just the same as a Dacron connector, we put it over this section here and slide it down to the knot, and then the bead, the feeder bead, just close it over. Let's just straighten that out. There we go. And it just pulls over the knot like so, with a tiny little bit sticking out. It's just enough for you to hold on to it. Okay, and take the bead off again, so that you can take your rig off at the end of the day. Alright, but again, when I put this on, I put my rig on, I give it a little wet like that, and then I pull it up. Okay, so the knot just goes inside the bead and locks everything in position. And you can see then, if I tighten this down, this elastic down, now that one sits really, really neat on the internal bush. There's another internal one again there, and you can see that it sits absolutely perfectly. And I use this loads for shallow fishing and things like that. Okay, and it's just directed elastic. There's no time, you know, or distraction when you strike. It's just really, really simple as you do it, nice and easy. All right, so they're the three that I tend to use, and again, no chance of a tangle there. So we've got Dacron, Stofo, and just a normal bead straight to your elastic. So they are the three main ones. Okay, let's just get them in a position where you can see. There we go. So again, for me, I've definitely used this loads in winter with the bead over the top, directed elastic. Sometimes this is excellent, especially with a Dacron that's, you know, that's half the length of that. If I just hold it against that white background, you can see that a bit easier. Okay, so I do have it very, very small, normally speaking, and it can be really, really good as well. And then obviously the Stofo, which is like the old school method now, but perfectly fine, you know. So again, great for kids, great for beginners, because they can just loop the line onto it nice and easy. Okay. So fitting your rig. Okay, I'm going to demonstrate this a few different ways. So I'm going to use the same as what I use, the same line as I use, just because it's a bit thicker and it's nice and easy for you to see it. So in the top of your rig, you'll make yourself a loop. Essentially, so as you can see, in your rig, so you've got your float coming down to this section here, and then you've got nice big loop of line. Okay, nice big loop of line. And when you're putting it on, you know, your Stofo connector, like I said to you before, you just pop the collars down. Okay, oops, helps if you actually do it. Okay, you pop the collar down, just like that. You put the line through the loop and put the locking collar back on again. Okay, if it does come undone like that as there, pop everything back together, nice and secure. Okay, and as you can see, your rig fits perfectly to your elastic, and out it comes. Alright, taking it off is exactly the same, just in reverse. Okay, so how it attaches to the Dacron and straight to your elastic is exactly the same, and this is always really difficult to see, so I'm going to show you this on something a bit bigger. Okay, so this is nice and thick. So imagine this is your Dacron connector, all right, with a knot at the end, and this is your loop of line in the end of your rig. All right, so it's exactly the same. It's just scaled up to make it easy for you to see. Okay. Okay, so that's a bit better. So we've got a nice thick piece of rope. So imagine this is just a loop in the end of your rig. Okay, just like I said before, loop in the end of your rig. All right, no different. It's just easy for you to see. And all you're going to do is you're going to take your main line, okay, so this bit here, and you're going to bring it, okay, through the loop, all right, to make a second loop. Let me show you that on the close-up camera. All right, so the main line just there, I'm going to pass it through the loop to make a second loop. Okay, so we put that over the top, and then when we pull it through, okay, as you can see, it just locks onto the Dacron connector. I'll show you that way around. And see how that locks on there? So if there's a knot on the end of here now, my finger can be the knot. You slide it down to the knot, okay, and it will hold in place, no problem at all. It's not going to slip off the end because the knot's in the way. That's how you do that. Okay, so I'll show you on the real thing. Let's just move those out of the way. Alright, so we've got our Dacron connector and we've got our loop on our line. Okay, so again, I'm going to hold on to that loop. I've got my fingers in the loop there. I'm going to pass the main line through it so it creates a second loop. Okay, nice big second loop. I'm going to put the Dacron connector into the loop. Okay, and I'm going to pull the main line gently. Alright, and it locks it all down into a nice position. You can see that's gone directly onto the Dacron connector. You slide it down to your knot. Alright, and as you can see there, it's going nowhere, that isn't. It's going to stick directly to your knot. Okay, and then the knot is your main line loop attached onto your Dacron connector. Okay, nice and neat, and then it's not going to come off at all. Okay. Okay, so the process for attaching it direct to elastic. Okay, now obviously a lot of people use Dacrons because it doesn't wear. You know, it's quite hardy and it's not an issue. You can use it and use it and use it. If you fish a lot and you're changing your elastics quite a lot, you might decide, like me, to go direct to elastic, and you just have to sort of check it. You know, I don't leave rigs on, generally speaking, and if you do, you know, you need to be making sure you check that elastic each time to make sure there's no abrasion just by the knot. And if there is, you know, you can always retie that knot again a little bit further down, you know, an inch down, half an inch down or whatever, and it's not going to affect your performance elastic too much at all. So again, finger in the loop, pass the main line through it to create a new loop. Okay, I put the knot through the loop and then I pull the main line of the rig straight. Okay, so it sits directly on the elastic like that. So all I do then is slide it down to the knot of the elastic, and again you can see just like the Dacron, that fits in exactly the same way. So all we do then is give a little moisten, bring the bead up over the top so the knot goes inside it. You can see how it kicks the loop out of the main line there, so everything sits nice and straight. Okay, and again that's how it fits your elastic. Now there's no, you know, it's direct onto a fish, especially fishing shallow. It's really good. So you can see that works really well. You're just got to be careful of that abrasion, like I explained before, just on the inside there. But you can always check that anyway. As long as you're moistening your knots, though, you should be fine with that. And you know, if you're leaving elastic in for months at a time, and I'd be wary and probably be using Dacrons, but that's not for me. I change my elastics really frequently. Okay, so they're the three main elements of connectors, and how they're used and how they're fitted. Once again, if you like what you see, drop a comment, a like and subscribe. That would be fantastic. And don't forget our t-shirts should you want one of those as well. Alright, thank you. Speak to you soon.